Stand up.
Hi there, welcome to the Saturday Show. I've got an episode for you here on Saturday, so I'm calling it the Saturday Show. Finnegan Fridays as well. We were live yesterday with Christian Finnegan, and many of you were there, watched the conversation on YouTube or Substack or Twitter or wherever else that I go live on this platform that I use. Christian, great, as always. Been a few weeks since we talked, and we covered a lot of ground, including we weren't exactly on the same page around conspiracy theories and damage that they might be doing to folks on the left and so on, but we had a great conversation about it, and I think many of the folks watching thought Christian made a lot of good points and agreed with him more, which it's not a competition. I love Christian, and I love in the rare instance where we're not exactly on the same wavelength, because it doesn't happen too often. So I thought it was a very interesting conversation. As always, Christian is great. As always, you should see him if you're in Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. Last night he was in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. You can go subscribe to his Substack, New Music for Olds. Get a paid subscription. You can Venmo him as a way to thank him for joining me. Send him a couple bucks. I'll put his Venmo in the show notes. That's where I'll put his Venmo. So go send him a few bucks. And thank you very much for pressing play today. I hope you have a great weekend. And thank you for supporting me and my work on this ad-free show where I get the smartest people I can find and always have great conversations almost every day. Here we go with Christian Finnegan. Let's begin, shall we?
Let's go, hoodie friend.
Yeah.
We're the brother hoodie.
Welcome to the Brother Hoodie. It's Christian Finnegan and Pete Dominic, where we talk about things in our hoodies.
I just reach in and I pull out a gold doubloon.
Out of your hoodie, you keep stuff back there?
Just doubloons. I'm just strictly doubloons.
I don't know. I don't know how you got so many doubloons, much less in your hood, but either way.
I'm in the doubloon of the month club.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I bet you are. That makes sense. Seems like an aristocrat like you would do something like that. How have you been? Everything okay? I know you were at the Met Gala.
Of course, I was there throwing buckets of animal blood on people. No.
Did that used to happen? That was like the old.
I feel like I don't know if it happened at the Met Gala, but it used to happen at sort of high society functions. I think faux fur has. It's funny. Faux fur has advanced to the point where I don't think people necessarily know whether a fur is real or not. And also, we've kind of gotten to the other side of that. People are like, I'm going to wear fur as a rebellion against people telling me I can't. And so it's all this sort of meta bullshit now.
Well, now it's not about animal cruelty. That would be quaint if that was the issue that we were focused on at the Met Gala, much less in the world.
Can you imagine how many things in our country would have to go right for people to start worrying about animal cruelty again? Like how far down the list of things that need to be addressed. And I say that not as an insult to animals.
No, it's very true. And I think it's probably even more true specifically of an issue that is a lot worse than animal cruelty, yet directly connected to it, but I feel has a similar effect, which is climate change. The climate crisis was the number one most impactful issue for a long time when people asked, and it's certainly something I covered a lot and care a lot about and think a lot about. But now you talk to young people, much less, and this is just anecdotal, but just in terms of news coverage of the climate crisis, not to mention just the regression of our policies, wouldn't that be nice if we were talking about that, but we're not even talking about that anymore.
I think it's slightly understated to what degree politics and society and just even self-care as a nation and individually is subject to the same fluctuations as trends in fashion or music or movies or whatever. And that something like climate change is no less a problem than it was 15 years ago. In fact, you could very easily argue it was much more of a problem now. But I think that people are like, yeah, that was like 10 years ago. That was like a thing. It loses its sort of, I don't want to call it cool factor, but there's a freshness to an issue. I think that's a lot of what people don't understand also about the woke and whatnot. People think like, oh, that the Trump second term and all that was like a backlash against woke or whatever. Yeah, that's true. But I think also it's just things have a way of just the pendulum swings. And it's not because somebody went too far or, pushed too far. It's that things have a cultural pendulum that sort of swing back and forth. And also, I think people underestimate to what degree a lot of the things that annoyed them about quote unquote woke or climate change. Hysteria is not the right word, obviously, but people getting really climate change focus, is that how much of that was just cynical corporate marketing bullshit that had nothing to do with actually helping the climate, just like all of those stupid Pride Week sponsored by Halliburton, all that shit had nothing to do with actual gay people or trans people getting on people's nerves. It was just a cynical corporate thing because they felt like there was money to be made by taking that position at that time.
Maybe so, but I'm fine with a corporate, a publicly traded capitalist company being cynical and doing the right thing at the right time.
I agree in theory, but I think that is part of what led to the sort of pro-Trump backlash.
People don't like that they're doing that.
And it felt corny and just it felt ridiculous and stupid. Again, these sort of dumb, Exxon Mobil having some, hey, look at us. We have, the sort of cliche about, send more women bombers, that trying, I don't remember. There's sort of a meme that was going around Twitter a long time ago, whatever, about how the sort of liberal mindset was like, we need more women in positions of bombing poor people in other countries. You know what I mean?
I didn't see that. That's interesting.
I don't remember the exact phraseology of it, but just this idea that you can kind of paint a liberal banner on any bullshit corporate strategy or mindset, that people will buy into it and feel like it's progress, when really it's just corporations just following a market. And when the pendulum swung in the other way, the corporations will follow it that way. And all of a sudden they're meeting with Trump in the White House.
The opposite is true as well in terms of companies, corporations, and ad campaigns or strategies that are also catering to people who are more likely on the conservative end of the spectrum. And one example I can think of that is most prominent and most pernicious is using veterans.
For sure.
Even worse, at least there's actually some concern and care, real concern and care about the climate with some of these, and it's also pragmatic to do because it saves money if you're more sustainable, one might argue. But I just am so cynical about Republicans and their patriotic porn and strategies that have exploited veterans forever. It's the Republican Party who sends you to war and the Republican Party who does not take care of you and your health care when you come back from war. And the idea that people that serve in the military still support Republicans has a lot to do with those types of campaigns and that type of ideology. But really, if you take just a cursory glance at the behavior of the Republican Party vis-a-vis foreign policy misadventures in our lifetime and before, you would realize that they send these guys into a meat grinder in Vietnam, less so in other, but they come back broken. And then what did they do? They use them more. They use them all the time. And I'm just sort of thinking off the top of my head, but there's this sort of cliche in our world between entertainment and also people who are writers is that we're not going to pay you, but you'll get exposure. This idea that hey, you're going to reach our massive audience, so therefore we can't pay you. I feel like the Republicans do the same thing with the military, but in terms of just hey, we're not going to take care of your family and your health benefits are going to be shit and you're going to be thrown into a meat grinder, but we will give you this public filleting. We will give you this blowjob at every way, shape, and form. You can join the parade. You got to pay for your own travel.
Exactly. We'll wave the flags and we'll thank you for your service over and over again. And that's sort of the Republican version of we'll give you exposure.
Well, I actually thought, I do actually think about what I'm going to talk to you about. We were a lot more free flowing than other guests who are
all signs to the contrary.
And yet I was like, what, I do want to, I have been beating this drum and I want to just keep talking about it. And I know this is something that you've thought a lot about and we've talked about it before and we lived through it. We lived through 9/11, we lived through the Iraq and Afghan war, and now we're watching what's going on in Iran. And my point to get your reaction to is we're losing and we're going to lose. And I could lay the metrics out, but Vietnam, massive loss. Iraq, massive loss. I might argue Afghanistan was the worst loss because we were there for 20 years, except there was about 2,000 lives lost there, obviously, American lives, a lot more Afghans. And now we're losing, as everybody knew we would, to Iran. What they didn't know is what has happened, is that you've thrown power to the IRGC as a panel. They're pragmatic and they're smart. They're pumping out these Lego videos, which just might be the most effective piece of propaganda I've ever heard of and seen. They're fucking good. The songs are good, and they're humiliating Trump, and they have all the leverage in the world with this Strait of Hormuz, and we are not going to be able to deal with it. It's going to affect the midterm elections, and there's no way we're going to stay and continue doing what we've been doing there. We got rope-a-doped in, and here we are, and no matter how strong our military is, we will always lose. Just like the Russians are losing the Ukrainians, because you don't consider asymmetric warfare. You don't consider dynamics. You don't consider leverage. None of it. It's just fucking pure jock hubris. Oh, we've got the greatest military in the world. We'll go pound the shit out of them. And you will. And we did. And we lose.
Yeah. Again, this is in a backdoor sort of way, an argument for why you need a free and independent media in this country, because the reason those Lego videos are hitting so hard is because they're plainly identifying what any normal person can see is happening, but that our elected officials, specifically on the Republican side, but even on the Democratic side to a certain degree, and certainly the legacy media, feels like they're not allowed to say out loud. That because of either pressures from the White House or this sort of radical centrism, this idea that, we've got to play both sides or whatever, they can't identify the elephant in the room, in that everyone sees that this person has no plan, that this person is not just mentally ill, like not just senile, but was an idiot and a narcissist and a malignant figure to begin with, who is now also 80 years old and insane. And because our media can't say it out loud in just blunt, obvious terms, when everyone sees this, even his supporters on some level see this, and I think they get off on the fact that they see it, but that like, fuck you, you can't do anything about it, try and stop us. But you are giving a massive gift to Iran or really any other of our global rivals, because they can just say it. They can point it out. And not only will it demoralize Americans, because I've seen those Lego videos, and yeah, there's a little part of me that's like, yeah, get him, Iran. But then I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
You're rooting for terrible people who oppress their own people. But yes.
Yeah. But the end result is that I, as an American, am demoralized by the whole thing.
Right.
And everyone is. And again, because our country won't say it, we are allowing them to say it. And it's not even a moral high ground. It's an objective high ground. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they occupy,
yeah.
It's horrifying to say, but they occupy the more truthful space in this conflict, which is insane.
It is insane to think that the American government would ever be such a duplicitous negotiator, not because of a moral higher calling, but because it's ineffective. It's ineffective to lie in a negotiation and say you're going to do something or threaten to do something and not do it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
He's a fucking terrible negotiator. He was always a terrible negotiator. The things that he did that helped him make deals were immoral, usually legal threats that made the other party back down. Most people don't do that. Most people aren't that fucking morally reprehensible, and yet it doesn't. It might work in a real estate deal. It might work to shut a woman up who you assaulted, but it doesn't work in a war. It doesn't work in international relationships at all, ever. They remember the Canadians fucking hate us now,
and it's going to. I don't think I don't want to go down the dark path of like, is America done? I don't think that's probably overstating it. But imagine you're in another country. Imagine we elect President AOC, or President, like somebody who we really believe.
We will find redemption for the points that you made earlier. The world has no memory. We'll be redeemed by our new leaders. Nobody will like us again. So why don't you shut up?
But that's what I'm thinking. Though. Like, every other country is like, oh, okay, great. You have a president now that's doing the quote unquote right things. Whether Chris Van Hollen, whatever. Pick a more mainstream figure. I'm just trying to think of
All right, wow. Then you're on the fucking Van Hollen train.
I hope he replaces Schumer. But anyway, I'm saying pick your reasonably Democrat that you would be happy with, maybe not ecstatic, but happy with as president.
Chris Murphy.
Chris Murphy, whatever. Yeah. In any other country, it's like, okay, great, you have this president now. Who's going to be in 4 years? We know
John
that
Ossoff.
you are one. But I'm saying it's like every other country is like, we can't trust anything you say ever again because we know you are one election away from it all meaning nothing.
I think that is a perfectly sound point in a world that makes sense. But I think that what are you planning for? How far down the road are you planning for? We have markets. We'll buy your shit. And you're going to make an agreement to sell it to us for the next 2 years. You're going to work with us for the next 2 or 3 years. I think everybody wants America to return to some kind of normalcy. And they will, the moment we seem to, they will eventually be like, oh, we trust them again. Even though what you're saying makes perfect sense. Why would they? We're just going to elect another crazy person. That's who we are. But I still, that's.
But will they re-entrench their long-term commitments with America? If it gets to the point where they need to make a deal with either America or China, like who's like the deal they might get? That's a very
good point. Yeah, I mean, China's
the deal they might get with China might not be as good, and they might not support the human rights and all that. But it's like at least they know what it's going to be, and they know that it'll be generally the same 10 years from now as the day they signed it. Whereas with America, who can fucking say?
The thing that I think is so interesting about China, and I really want to bring on some experts, but it would seem that they are invested in the future of energy in a way that we are doing the opposite. Literally preventing
it's crazy. Yeah.
Spending money on and research on renewable energy, and so preventing it and investing in old dirty forms of energy. Whereas in China, they're building wind farms everywhere. They have an electric car that's way better and way cheaper than the Tesla. And they don't have idiots investing in the past and an oil lobby making decisions for their leaders. I can't see it how that isn't a game changer. Their investment in the future of energy and our investment in the past. I wish I would have said that more succinctly.
No, I mean, we've gone past cutting off our nose to spite our face, and we've moved on to our ears and eyes and chins and mouths. Like we're going to run out of things to cut off our face at a certain point. And yeah, I mean, with the future of energy, it's very, and I was reading something yesterday about how another shoe that's about to fall is that there are these electric trucks that are coming online that are cheaper and better, for hauling freight, which in terms of actual fossil fuels and damage to the climate and all that dwarfs consumer driving. The amount of gas and diesel and all that it takes to move goods around the country is much bigger than whether you make the personal decision to drive a hybrid or not, or drive an electric car or not. And so, yeah, obviously I'm not a historian, but I would love to find out when the last time anyone could point to where the largest power in the world just so definitively shot itself in the foot over and over and over again.
Let me ask you about a totally different subject that I knew I wanted to ask you about. We have not talked about this, and I don't know what you think. I have a pretty good suspicion, but I have been...
You don't know me. I could surprise you. Anyway.
You always surprise me by the way that you'll frame something, the way that you explain it. I think that's what a lot of people like. They don't hear that articulated the same that you do it. But I don't think the outcome will totally surprise me on this one. Often you do surprise me. But this case is about the White House correspondent's shooter, as well as the Butler shooter and the rest. And the idea that they are a false flag, or the idea that the Trump administration planned them, is always been outrageous to me. And the thing that I'm most upset about is people like Lee McGowan, a.k.a. Politics Girl, people like our friend Dino Bidala, and many more have been trafficking in those conspiracies and promoting and selling them. Most prominently, I think, Lee McGowan made a whole video And I understand. I get it. I've been thinking about it and talking with a lot of people, including a lot of listeners, about it. I get that people don't know what's real anymore. I get that they feel like they've been lied to over and over. I get all that. But I start laughing to myself, because it's condescending to do, at people when they start breaking it down. Because I'm always like, what did they get? So they thought they get a guy who was fast, and they'd be like, you just run in there. Just run in there. That's the plan. But they lowered the crane into the photo. They lowered the flag into the photo and Butler. Oh, the crane operator was in on the conspiracy. None of this stuff is in any way believable to me. And most importantly, if anybody was ever going to pull something off, it wouldn't be these fucking knuckleheaded, stupid people who cannot keep a secret, hate each other, aren't loyal to anything, and it's just like people sit around and watch videos and then comment about them and then post it. Look at this guy over here. That is the most irresponsible, lazy, insidious thing for anybody to be doing. And there's now a lot of progressives doing it, and I'm absolutely outraged by it, because I think it's really dangerous, not specifically about these, quote, false flags. What's the next thing you're going to do? If nobody believes anybody, then who are we supposed to be here with any kind of platform? You're being just as bad as the rest of them if you're making that shit up. If you really believe it, I don't buy it that they believe what they're saying, some of these people, the progressives.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure whether my opinion on this will be helpful to you or surprise you or what. I don't know is the short answer. Is like, I think that the idea that these people could pull off a conspiracy is absurd and ridiculous. And I don't think people understand just how many people can't be incompetent and all powerful at the same time.
Could be the Israelis, could be the deep state, CIA, could be any other, Al Qaeda.
What I think is, I would not put the Correspondents' Dinner and the Butler situation in the same bucket. Some stuff about it stinks. I don't know. I don't think that they were conspiracies. I don't think that these were planned. Would it shock me if 50 years from now evidence was shown that maybe security allowed certain people to sort of get through to a way where they could then come down on them and get the show of ending, of sort of thwarting an attempt?
Even that theory. Think about it for a little while. Who told them? How many security people? How many people had to know that stand down order? How many? 2?
No,
3,
I don't think it's a question of being told. I think it's a question of, hey, we have there's somebody who sent off a red flag that's in the area, and you're right. I mean, this is why I'm not recording videos like this, but truth has been exploded to such a point where all I'll say is these ridiculous, the videos of the whatever grassy knoll type videos about Butler and the Correspondents' Dinner. They're nuts. They didn't happen. Like they didn't happen the way these videos are making them out to seem. But are they markedly more absurd than the official versions? No. That's why same way I feel about JFK. It's like, no, I don't think that there was some vast conspiracy. I do think probably Lee Harvey Oswald was, you know what? I don't even know. All I know is that there's some shit you're being lied to. You don't know what you're being lied to about, and so therefore people are going to fill in the blanks.
You're being lied to about a number of things, but not everything.
No, not everything. But I'm saying even within the small purview of these specific events, I think you're being lied to. And it might be as simple as ass covering on the Secret Service. It could be that there are 20 of these a day, and we don't know how many people are trying to kill Trump because they aren't publicizing them. Like, I'm just saying the whole administration is so clouded in bullshit that truth has become impossible to identify, and people are going to fill in those gaps with their own stories. And, I mean, I'm not as confident as you are that these things were just on the up and up. I don't believe people are smart enough to pull off conspiracies. I think it requires too much coordination. I think it requires too much competence to really pull off something on this scale. But do I think that there is malevolence mixed with incompetence sometimes, and incompetence mixed with malevolence, and sort of maybe certain things that are allowed to maybe move further than they should be because they think there's going to be a PR benefit to a backlash against it. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't get on a stream or whatever and start making accusations because you're right. It does fall apart under even the slightest bit of scrutiny.
The slightest bit of scrutiny. I'm disappointed with you and some of my favorite people.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry.
In the chat right now. Tina says, I'm with Christian. There are definitely people around Trump who are nefarious enough to take advantage of situations that arise. No. Here's why. Because if it was Stephen Miller and he wanted to conduct some operation, everybody fucking hates him. Everything that guy has done has eventually failed, and you know that he did it. And who are the other people? They hate each other. They would never work together. And for what? There aren't people who are nefarious enough to what? To do what? To tell a guy? To activate a cell? To do what? To tell someone to stand down? Who's going to stand down? If you see a guy running through, just let him go. No, that doesn't happen. That does not happen. The FBI doesn't do that. The Secret Service doesn't do that. Their worst nightmare is letting someone through. And go ahead. I'll shut up.
No, you're right. I know you're right about this. But
the thing that bothers me is that we're supposed to be better because we don't accept what we can't prove.
Well, I don't think it's an either or thing. I don't think you have to accept it. Or I don't think you have to accept either. I honestly think that
extraordinary circumstances require extraordinary proof.
I mean, again, it's like this is all anecdotal shit, and I know this is exactly the kind of stuff you're complaining about, and I don't disagree with you, but it's like,
hit me.
It's a weird thing that both of these events happened at the times that were most politically advantageous to Donald Trump.
You would have said that at any
to the day.
Every day could be that, though. Every day could be that. You could make that argument if you wanted to. You could frame that every day. But even more so, that's just a coincidence like everything else. If you could make that connection, I got a whole bunch of 9/11 connections to make for you that are super convincing. It just so happened that and so on.
Well, I mean, again, I think that's why there are so many 9/11 conspiracies is I think that there are lies and there is bullshit surrounding that. But the lies weren't to sort of cover up for like an insider job. The lies were to cover up for fuck ups and lapses in security and people just making poor decisions, and it's all cover your ass.
We find out what that stuff is too. We find out the cover your ass stuff too, especially with 9/11. It's been written. I've interviewed so many of those authors, including Ali Soufan, who said if only the CIA would have told us that these guys were in the country, I and the FBI could have prevented it. But they didn't. They didn't tell him because it was a dick measuring contest. The CIA wanted control and didn't want to tell the FBI. And we know that's what happened. It was well documented, and journalists have done a great job with that and so many other things, and with these current things. And when you say, they lied to us so much we don't know it's true, I've heard that so many times, and I think I want to argue we do know it's true though. We always find out what they lied about. We find it out all the time.
I don't believe that at all.
Give me an example.
I really don't believe that at all. I mean, I can't because I can't argue in the negative. I can't say
you think that they lied about something, and we just don't know if they are lying about it or not, or something.
I think that a lot of the major events of history, there are nooks and crannies of truth that we will never have any idea about because, again, these are people covering their asses for fuck-ups, not necessarily making plans to pull off some crazy conspiracy.
They do that, but we find out. Because if you need more than two people knew, if there was any documentation of the fuck-up, you find it out. I mean, I guess this is the one I do want to get at with people, because a lot of people are saying this makes a lot of sense too. They lie so much we don't know which way is up. We don't know what the truth is. But I firmly think that we do, maybe not at this very moment during the lie, but I think we find out sometimes a couple days later, a couple weeks later, we do find out.
Well, the thing is, I would argue two things.
Howard Lutnick said, I never, ever, I'm going to go back, never going to talk to that man again. He was lying. We found out a couple of weeks later that he went to his island. Not long at all.
I think a couple things. One, you have a very admirable, but in my opinion,
naive.
Not naive. It's not the right
ignorant,
word. You are still
sexy,
working in a You are still operating in a function where when people know the truth, they will act in a certain way, as opposed to people will take the truth that benefits their goals and ignore the truth that doesn't, and will reframe the truth in a way that furthers their goals. And that it's like, we will find that finding out about Howard Lutnick took him down, or that is going to make that people change their opinion about Howard Lutnick or what will happen.
Question. I'm not saying that it changes anybody's opinion. I'm just talking about this idea that we don't know what is true anymore because they lie and gaslight so much. We don't know what is true. But my argument is we do. We find out through any number of ways: journalism, oversight, their own. One of the things.
I think the anecdotal evidence of one person visiting an island once because somebody took a picture is markedly different than an assassination attempt. Which is
I'm just trying to find an example of where they lie, and we don't eventually find out or know they're lying.
If they've lied to you and you never found out, you can't cite it as an example.
Of course.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You can't argue in the negative.
The larger dangerous issue is that people stop trusting having reliable sources in their life. Institutions. This began,
and I do agree. At the end of the day, that helps fascism more than it helps us.
Right.
That picking and choosing what truth you want to believe at the end of the day helps them, not us. I agree with that.
I am seeing progressive commentators, Politics Girl, Lee McGowan, Dino Badala, who, by the way, maybe I will never talk to him again because I privately said, "Can we please talk?" And he just ignored my texts. He's a good friend of mine. He just didn't call me. And so my question is, why are you doing this? Why are you selling this? Why are you doing this? I'm just asking questions. Why are you making this video? And the cynical take is because you're trying to get clicks and subscribers. And to see Politics Girl make that video about the White House correspondent shooting was so heartbreaking because she has such a huge following of people who trust her. And I feel like I'm one of the few people out here who's panicking that progressive content creators and journalists are starting to do the same thing that the right does.
It's hard to argue it's hard to argue against it, hard to convince people to not do it when you've seen it be so incredibly successful on the other side for the past 10 years. And that I do think that one of the things that has been problematic for Democrats and the just left in a more general sense is a lack of imagination in terms of just how shitty these people are and the lengths that they will go to. And I'm not talking about pulling off assassination attempts, but it's like a lot of this, like, oh, they would never do that, or that's not, people are smart, or people are like I do think that there is a lack of appreciation for just how radical and overt these fascists will be in order to further their project and project and to protect themselves, quite frankly, because they know,
for sure.
I mean, it's for some of these people, I'm not trying to say anything super provocative, but it's like for some of these people, jail isn't the only thing they're worried about. I mean, there are certain people who, if Trump is flushed out of power, there are certain people who are probably never going to go anywhere in public without security details, ever in their lives, and in my opinion, I have no sympathy for those people because they've done it to themselves. But I do think that this idea of like, nobody would do that, or, that I think that I agree that nobody should be out there lying and making fucking red string pin boards and, fucking Jim Garrison back and to the left. Like, I'm not saying that is the right way to do things, but I do think that the sort of like, come on, be sensible, be realistic, has bitten us in the ass a number of times over the past 10 years.
I don't know what you mean in terms of if we are being too sensible and too realistic, then what is the opposite? In the chat, my friend Kim is saying, and my friend Kim and Rachel are like, well, they got us pointing at each other, so we're not pointing at them. I would imagine you're referring to me being critical of other progressives. I will always do that. If I see my friend,
that is why we're better than them and why we lose. They're both at the same time.
But that's where anybody's credibility should, by the way, lie. Like, if I didn't call out my friend What would that make me? He's my friend. I helped him get his job. Oh, you're just pointing at our friends. No, if progressives start trafficking in conspiracy theories, we will be part of the fascist project. We are just as bad as them. If you start making videos saying, I'm just asking questions, and you have a massive following, the opposite of that is those content creators, those women who outed Eric Swalwell. They could have done so much irresponsible stuff with that information. They performed journalism, and they should be given awards for how responsible they were and the way that they used their massive platforms. And that is where what we should be doing, not this. And if I see my friends, no matter who they are, selling nonsense for clicks, I'm going to point at them, because we have to stay together. I mean, I understand that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King did not share the same strategy, but I'm glad that they argued about it. I'm glad that they had differences of opinion. I think both of their strategies and both of them made a huge difference. Was it ugly and messy? Sure. But the idea that we're not going to point at each other and that it's going to distract us from pointing at them, that's not accurate either. All right, I'm going to climb down off my little box.
I think it's a fine box to be on. And I intellectually, I agree with you. I do feel
strategically
like we need to expand our notion of just how full of shit these people are and the things that they will do. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what
that means though. In terms of expanding our notion, I feel like I've expanded.
Do you think, again, I'm not trying to do a backdoor way into arguing for these conspiracies, but it's do you think, I'm not saying that let's take Butler, for instance. I'm not saying Butler was a false flag or whatever. I'm not saying that.
He wasn't president, by the way, so he didn't control the Secret Service. And
No, of course not. But didn't he, though? I mean, there's a lot. You're not telling me that there's a lot of Secret Service that are more loyal to the Trump administration, even when Biden was president.
Every Secret Service agent's worst nightmare.
John Bongino was a Secret Service agent.
It makes no sense that the Secret Service would be in on anything regarding an assassination attempt. None at all.
Do I not? Again, it's hard for me to even. I don't want to argue this in a personal conversation. I would have this because I feel like it's irresponsible to talk about this in a live stream. But I'm just saying. All I'm saying is I think that as things get weirder, things are going to get weirder. And I don't think that we should be necessarily spending all of our time trying to shoot down conspiracy theories on the left. I mean, I think you're right to do it, but I do think that there's limited time in the day. And
I actually disagree with that.
I don't know if I agree with it either.
I've thought a lot about it because I think a lot about, probably more than anything else, about what I'm going to prioritize on the show, who I'm going to talk to, what I'm going to talk about. And within that, I generally editorially think, well, what are the issues that are the most impactful? And then finally, I think, where could I possibly be effective and different than anybody else? And in this case, I feel like my credibility, it speaks for itself in terms of what I've done with my career and not selling out. The New York Times has ads from the American Petroleum Institute while they're reporting on climate. I think,
but I'm okay. Here's what I'm going to say, and I'm not saying that you're both sidesing or you're like Jake Tapper.
You can
or
if
whatever.
you want. You can if you want.
But what I'm saying though is that you see this subject matter as an opportunity to establish your credibility.
No.
And I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying that's the reason you're doing it. But I'm saying that there is an added benefit to you feeling like, and I'm not even talking about in your audience's mind, in your own mind. It's like, I want to be able to call out bullshit I see on the left so that I know that I'm in this for the right reasons and thinking clearly, which is completely justified and responsible. But what I'm saying, though, is that there is always going to be that drag or attraction to want to spend your time establishing your credibility in a way that, again, that takes time away from attacking the monsters. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it hasn't taken time away because
obviously not you. I mean,
80% of what I'm doing has nothing to do with this or more. But to me, it's not an opportunity, but a responsibility. As long as I'm going to fucking keep doing this, And I'd be happy with a number of other jobs if I thought I could make money doing them. I like doing this, but as long as I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to try to be responsible. If I thought it was an opportunity to establish my credibility, and then this isn't what you're saying. I think you're saying about my own conscience. But if I thought it was an opportunity to establish my own credibility so that I could get more viewers, clicks, and paid subscribers, that would be a dumb strategy. And I know it because I am not nearly as effective or as productive or prolific as a, say, politics girl. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I can name 15 people that have been doing it for a quarter of the time and have a way bigger following than me. I'm not jealous. I just can't do what they do. And I certainly could not say something that I don't believe for clicks and money. I mean, that is something I can't do and something I could never traffic in. So if that means I lose subscribers.
I don't agree with you. I don't disagree with you. Like, I could never do it either. And I would argue that it is held me back in many ways, but which is a good thing. I mean, you have to live. You have to, at the end of the day, you have to be able to live with yourself.
I mean, me and you do. Not everybody. Yeah. Some people, that's not an issue for them. That's not how they operate. But I think one of the reasons why you and I have a certain trust and respect for each other is that sense of your moral clarity and your conscience. And I know that you wouldn't do this or that to me or to another person, much less a stranger.
I just know that there have been a number of times over the past 10 years where other people, and myself, where I have thought that would never happen, and then it's happened. Do you know what I mean? They would never do that, and then they did that.
Yes.
They would never lie that blatantly, then they lied that blatantly.
Yes.
And so I have been trying to make myself expand my, I don't mean to bring everything to a fucking TV show, but it's like that scene in Game of Thrones. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
I never did.
Oh, it's really good. It ended badly, but it's really good. But for people who did watch it, Tyrell, the grandmother, the old lady, Diana Rigg, when Cersei blew up everybody, she's like, I had a lack of imagination, that. I think that my desire to kind of want to like roll my eyes at people who are histrionic and I think we all have this, like people who are kind of making radical, like conspiracy theorists and people who are just saying a bunch of shit. There's this kind of like, oh God, shut up. That would never happen. And there have been a number of times where that has bitten me / us over the past 10 years. And so, I don't agree with any of it, but I'm not going to spend my time personally. I'm not going to spend a lot of my time trying to tamp out those fucking flames because
I am going to continue to specifically spend my time calling out progressive creators because it's not journalists. It's just these YouTube podcast, my peers. That are just asking questions in this case about the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is the fucking dumbest one. And Butler's there's a lot more questions about Butler. If you want to fucking do it, stick to the one that makes sense. Francis, my friend Francis in the chat says they're so depraved. This is the thing that I don't also understand. They're the worst people. They are the most depraved people. Two things about that. They hate each other. They hate each other from fucking office to office. There is no loyalty. They're so depraved that they would stay in government on a mission. You stick by the people. You're loyal to the mission because you believe in it. They don't have a mission that they believe in other than that depravity. That's one thing. The other thing, though, is they're very bad at this.
Yeah, that's honestly where I fall at the end of the day.
Can't make the connection. They're evil liars. Yes, the worst of history, but they're very bad at it. And the best example I'm trying to give people is when they had to keep a secret about their military strategy against Yemen, they fucking gave it. They leaked it accidentally to the most prominent journalist in the country. They couldn't even keep a text chat secret. And you think they're conducting false flag experiments because their polling is low?
Here's what I would say. And again, I'm pulling this completely out of my ass. And like I said, this is probably more conversation for off mic, off camera.
Do it. Because, give it to me. We're off the air now.
No, I mean, is that, let's say you're cheating on your wife.
Okay.
You're meeting your paramour at a hotel. On the way to meeting your paramour at this hotel, you accidentally hit someone who's crossing the street. you drive away, not necessarily because you wanted to commit murder or that you don't care, is because you are cheating. Or that what I'm saying is that sometimes these conspiracies are really people fucking up and then trying to cover up their fuck ups. And that they, at the end of the day, they amount to not the same thing, but there's a reason that things don't pass the smell test and you don't know why, but you just know that that's not what you're saying. Whatever the answer is, it's not what you're saying. And it doesn't mean that it was some, again, pinboard with strings and, some top-down conspiracy, but that whatever the truth is not the official story. And whether that's true or not, they have made their own bed in this regard. And that's what I'm saying, where it's like, I don't like it when, like you said, content creators with giant followings do this. I agree that I don't disagree with you calling them out. I think it's a thing that you're doing in a way that, like, you are sacrificing yourself.
Oh, it's not helping me. I'll tell you that.
It's not helping you at all.
People fucking hate when you do it. Hate it. And yet, I will say, it weeds people out too, because some of the people that are also doing it along with me, I'm like, well, that makes me think differently about you, or I have more respect for you because it's not helping anybody.
No, I 100% agree.
I don't particularly like,
but I'm just saying that there's that they have made this bed in the same way that, and again, oh boy, I don't want to say anything that's going to get me a visit from the FBI, but it's like, if one of these attempts, not on Trump, on anybody, it's like, I don't want any political violence at all. Because again, I believe that political violence, at the end of the day, we're not going to win an asshole contest with these people. Like that, whatever political violence we might try to commit on the left is going to work to our disadvantage.
Absolutely.
So
agree.
It's like,
always.
Aside from any moral reason not to do
it makes
just
no
on
sense.
a strategic level, it's bad.
It would be terrible for the progressive movement, particularly people more marginal.
But would I feel bad for them? Would I feel like any sort of moral responsibility to weep I would have no thoughts and prayers for these people. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, people. I have no thoughts and prayers.
They did it themselves.
Rudy Giuliani. You had your Blue Sky account was one of the few places I saw reminding people how unpopular Rudy Giuliani was as a mayor of New York City. You and I lived in New York City, and when he was mayor, you were there.
People hated him. I've been here since
him were wealthy white people. The rest of the city, including middle class and lower income white people, hate him. Everybody hated Rudy Giuliani. After 9/11, he's able to reinvent his image. But
the people who still liked Giuliani towards the end were the people who commuted into New York from Jersey and Long Island, but didn't actually live here, because they liked the idea of somebody controlling this wide, like, it's the same reason people like Trump is like this idea of like, yeah, strong hand, man, show these people. I don't live there, so fuck it. But I'm glad somebody's punishing these.
No, they love punitive. They love spanking their kids. They love punitive. They love owning their enemies, all of that. They love cruelty is the point. It's a political philosophy that's very popular in America and has been forever.
Wait, hold on. I lost you for a second. I lost my audio.
Speaking of conspiracies.
Oh, man,
Speaking of conspiracy theories. It must be the FBI.
Oh, I got you.
It was probably the feds.
Couldn't possibly be my shitty mic.
All right. I think that we covered
I think we've solved this.
I appreciate everybody
issue.
chiming in, and I would love to. I want to host a Zoom with just some of these. I think it's almost all women here. Kim, Rachel, Tina, Francis, Desiree. I would love to know what you are thinking about any of these conspiracy theories and how I've handled it. Because I reached out to one of my friends, Therese. A lot of the women know her. On a Friday night, like the week after the correspondence dinner, she had posted Politics Girl. She shared it. So I called her. I was like, take it down. Take it down. It's horrible. It's horrible that you are like, if we give our credibility, whatever it is, your Facebook friends, if you believe this, then it means maybe I should be thinking about it. And I talked to her for like 30 minutes. I made all my points. She's really thoughtful and highly intelligent person, which is what scares me. Someone as highly intelligent as the people I'm talking about, like buying this stuff, make the arguments. I'll argue, but I think it's just, I've been fighting conspiracy theories since I started this show, from 9/11, the Sandy Hook. I've been almost implicated in things at times, and I think it's really always been a right-wing thing. And now it's become.
I agree. The erosion of truth is, at the end of the day, a right-wing project. And if you're participating in it knowingly, certainly, that you are helping them, not us. It might feel like you're helping us, but it's like, at the end of the day, you are on the side of untruth, which is not going to be helpful at the end of the day. But I don't blame anybody for doing it. And there's only a certain amount of my time and energy that I'm going to spend playing whack-a-mole with that kind of stuff while there are armed, masked agents rounding people up in the streets. I'm not saying that, like, how dare you do this when this other thing is going on. I'm just saying that in a hierarchy of things, I am personally going to go after. That's not number one for me.
Well, okay.
I'll put it that way.
Whatever. I don't know what your priorities are.
Personal financial gain. It should be priority. It's not, but it really needs to be. Really needs to be.
You want to plug anything on the way out?
Yeah. If you live near Great Barrington, Massachusetts, tonight I'm actually about to get in the car to drive to perform at the Wilbur Theatre, which is in Great Barrington, Massachusetts.
Oh, you muted yourself. We got the plug in, though. Great Barrington tonight. ChristianFinnegan.com.
I accidentally touched my microphone like an idiot. Okay. Can you hear me again?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to touch anything now. Yeah. So if you're around Great Barrington tonight, that's an 8:00 show. Later this month, I'm doing my tour of Massachusetts this month. The 28th and 29th, Thursday and Friday, I have a show in Nantucket on Thursday off Cape Cod. The very next night, I'm in Martha's Vineyard, so I'm doing a whole.
Wow! Who books it?
Schmancy.
Come out of retirement.
I did the Nantucket Comedy Festival last year, and Kevin Flynn, and he hooked me up with these gigs, and
Great.
so yeah, if you're around there, and I also have a couple. Seem to all in New England lately. I have a couple shows in Connecticut coming up. If you're around. Yeah, and other stuff. But yeah, Great Barrington, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, those are the next
Very
ones.
cool. I want pictures. You send me some pictures of nature from both those islands. And Great Barrington, that's beautiful. Christian Finnegan, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me for an hour today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye, everyone. All right, Christian Finnegan, everybody. Go see him live. Go follow him on Blue Sky. Subscribe to newmusicforolds.substack.com. If you like music, you'll love that and everything else that Christian does. Give him your support, and you could Venmo him a couple bucks, $5, $10, whatever, and I'll include his Venmo in today's show notes.
Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the face the seed of that experiment if you stand up. Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.